Mining Network's coverage of PDAC is brought to you by Tudor Gold.
Hello, welcome back. I'm with Andrew Williams, the President and CEO of New Pacific Metals. Andrew, good to have you back on.
Nice to be here with you, Peter.
Look, we had an update, I think, when the PEA came out in October. That was following a PFS on Silver Sand as well. Why don't you just talk to us about, or give us a bit of a reminder as to the two projects and the scale of them and what the plan is?
Yeah, for sure, Peter. Thank you. So, I mean, for us as a company, we're a large-scale silver developer domiciled based in Bolivia, and we've got two projects, Silver Sand and Carangas, both projects that we discovered ourselves. And as you referenced, last year we published a pre-feasibility study at our Silver Sand project highlighting 12 million ounce per year production over a 12-year mine life at just under $12 an ounce all-in sustaining cost. And our second discovery, Carangas, we published our preliminary economic assessment study in early October last year, highlighting 6.6 million ounces of silver per year of production for 16 years at just under $8 an ounce all-in sustaining costs. There's some byproduct credits in there. And so on a combined basis, both our Silver Sand and Carangas projects together when in production, produce roughly 19 million ounces of silver, which is almost as much silver as what Pan American Silver produces, and certainly the quantum of silver that some of the biggest players in our industry produce. So we're very much just wanting to remind folks of the scale and the quality of the projects that we've discovered within our company.
Yeah, and what I loved about them as well, they were obviously open pit silver project, but I remember talking to you at the time, especially when Carangas came out, was just how simple the flow sheet and the mining method was for these. These were really straightforward open pit mining projects that seem relatively, nothing's easy in mining, but relatively easy to get into production. Obviously, before that happens, you do need to go down the permitting route. What's the plan for this year? Are you looking likely to be able to get those permits, or how's things going in the country?
Yeah, so again, we've with these two projects, as you said, very sort of operable, buildable, both open pits and both modest plant sizes, kind of in that $330 to $350 million capital range each to build. So very, very, very in that sweet spot that our industry likes, whether it's big players, intermediate players, what have you. And so for us, as you mentioned, open pitable projects, which makes them easy to operate, but also involves going through the permitting process, right? It's obviously we're looking to permanently alter the landscapes where these projects sit with an open pit, and so that needs to be done responsibly and requires a significant amount of engagement with local stakeholders everywhere from the communities on the front lines to the local governments, the municipalities, the state level governments, the federal governments. And so we're very much committed this year with those studies behind us to advancing those permitting processes at both of our assets in a measured and disciplined way. So that's really our core focus this year. We're not committed to any additional technical studies. We really want to sink our teeth and check off some key milestones along that permitting process this year before taking that next step from a technical perspective.
Okay, and I was reading you've got around 18 million in the bank at the moment. How far does that see you through to in terms of this permitting process? Yeah,
so that's, I think, for us, one of our core strengths is, as you and your viewers may be aware, one of our unique advantages is that we've got two very large strategic shareholders behind us, Silvercorp Metals, Pan American Silver, and we've got a really nice capital structure based on the discoveries and the quality of our projects. We've got about 170 million shares outstanding today with the projects at the state they're in, and we sit with $18 million US of cash on our balance sheet today, which this year our board-approved budget to continue advancing our permitting process is roughly $8 million. So certainly at this pace, we've got a really strong team locally in Bolivia, plus our supporting team in Vancouver to advance these certainly for at least the next couple of years here of runway. We certainly wish to have success before then, but we're in a very strong balance sheet position. So for us, our team, we can just focus on delivering the results from the permitting process sort of over the as this year unfolds ahead of us.
Okay. What are you being valued on at the moment, sort of silver ounce in the ground, things like that? Do you know?
Oh, I mean, gosh, between our Silverstrike and Carangas project, we've got roughly 400 million ounces of silver sitting in the ground. And I think our market cap, I mean, it depends on the day, right? It's a volatile industry, but we're roughly around 200 million US, so 50 cents an ounce silver, which I mean, you look at the combined net present value at $30 silver from our Silver Sand project, which is about $1.1 billion, and our Carangas project, which is about $750 million. Like, we're just within spitting distance of $2 billion of after-tax net present value across both of our projects combined. So we're basically down here trading at about 0.1 in the proverbial, if you will. I know that people don't love this phrase, but the Lassonde curve, right, where we're really establishing a floor of value. And as we continue to execute on our permitting milestones, we see a really nice runway here for us to unlock the inherent value of these assets for our shareholders. Yeah, so I mean, that's the opportunity with you in a way, isn't it? There is risk, and you're in Bolivia, and obviously there is permitting risk and whatnot, but at the same time, value per ounce in the ground, or any other metric that you'd want to look at, like you were saying, if you compare it to other companies that are in production producing the 19 million ounces per annum that you're aspiring to, I mean, it's easy to say, oh, I'm discounted, but you obviously are in terms of that sense, in terms of the potential. So I guess in a way it's leveraging that, the risk of progressing the project via permitting and also the undervalued nature of the project. Do you think it's quite fair, the valuation, based on the risk and the reward? No, not at all. No? I mean, we're being valued as if these projects will never enter production, as if they're somewhere that's not a mining-friendly place to be. And they've been mining in Bolivia for over 500 years. I mean, and you look at in the past cycle, I know memories can be short, but I mean, you rewind to the last cycle and you had San Cristobal be brought into production, $2 billion in capital. Our second largest shareholder, Pan American Silver, they've been operating in Bolivia for over 20 years. And Mankiri, Core Mining, major silver mining company, built and operated the Mankiri project. And very successful operations. I mean, these are assets that have behaved really nicely geologically. The companies have been operating them with continuity, getting money out of the country. I mean, really, the fact that Pan American Silver has become an investor and have supported us is a testament to their view of Bolivia as a jurisdiction for mining. So it's very much a mining jurisdiction. It's just been a little while since a company has sort of brought a new project through, and so from our standpoint, we're continuing to methodically move these projects forward, and as we prove the critics wrong and validate our view that Bolivia is a great place to build and operate a mine, we see that value accruing back into our share price in the not too distant future. Talk to me a little bit more about Bolivia. What's the government stance on mining at the moment? It's so hard to keep up with South America, whether it always shifts, usually every 10 years, socialist to conservative type governments. What's in government at the moment? When's the next election? What's the sentiment around mining in the region? So in terms of mining, right, Bolivia for silver is the 5th largest silver producer in the world. Produced over 40 million ounces of silver in 2023, the most recent year where results were available. So it is, mining is happening, and in a big way in Bolivia today. Yep. Politically, the country, we've been under 20 years of governing, except for a brief interruption in 2021. But the MAS party has been in power, and we are entering elections. This is an election year. In August, there is a scheduled election, which will be an interesting moment for the country. I think from an economic perspective, it's sad to say, but the country is is in a difficult position for obtaining dollars, foreign currency. There is in short supply within the country. It's hard to procure diesel, which is a basic necessity for a lot of folks. And so I think Bolivia is at a moment here to really redefine and put forward a vision for attracting new sources of foreign investment. We've already seen them take tangible steps with the lithium in the country. They own the largest lithium resources anywhere in the world, and they've taken steps to attract foreign investment into the country to develop that. And for us, we really see ourselves as a natural extension of a movement that's happening organically within the country to bring new sources of foreign investment and use the mining sector as a vehicle to unlock the value that sits within Bolivia for the benefit of all of its people.
Okay, so election year. Do you know roughly when the elections will be? Is that announced yet?
August is when
August.
they're scheduled for, yeah.
So how much of a big moment is that for you as a company in terms of the way that investors might be looking at your valuation, do you think?
I mean, it counts for something, but we always say, and the way we operate on the ground is that we will do business with whoever is in power. And
so it's not the same as, like, say, for example, like Mexico, where the AMLO administration just was replaced by Claudia Sheinbaum. That was a big moment because obviously AMLO was very negative about it's not quite at the same level as that then, potentially. I mean,
it has the potential to be,
okay,
in the event that someone with a very clear and emphatic pro-business, pro-foreign investment agenda comes in. But from our standpoint, we're not going to bet on that. We think if that were to happen, again, like we said, we will respect and do business with whoever comes into power, whether it's an extension of the current administration, maybe there's a current administration, a different leader, whether there's a new platform that comes into power. Our proposition here is largely apolitical from the standpoint that we're looking to bring investment to the country that will benefit local communities through the tax and the royalty regime in the country. There's a big share that goes to the municipality, to the state or department, and the federal government, as well as the thousands of people that will integrate into a supply chain. That's all apolitical. And you look at the mines like San Cristobal, San Vicente, and Manquiri, they've all operated through pre-Moss transitional government going forward apolitically. As the cycle's gone this and that, they've just continued to churn forward and move ahead because they bring value to the local stakeholders, the local communities. They operate to the highest levels of safety, environmental, and community benefit. And that's really, for us, our core strategy is making it very transparent that that's our value proposition and somewhat insulating ourselves from sort of the ebbs and flows of the political cycle.
Okay. With the permits that you are trying to receive at the moment, or obtaining at the moment, I think a lot of it's around community negotiation, right? Because it is at the local level, does it still have to go through the capital, and do these elections pose a delay, or is it more at the regional level that you're going for these?
I mean, it's a good point. Most of what we do happens at a local level, but the rubber does hit the road from a local, state, and federal level, from the standpoint that, like at our Silver Sand project, we have our mining permit subject to obtaining our environmental license, which we're working towards, and that environmental license is granted by the Ministry of Environment and Water. That's a federal agency. And same thing with our Carangas project, for example. We have an exploration license, and we're going through the process of converting that to a mining license. And again, that's something that's done at a national level. So we do need the national government to be progressing things forward. And when folks are tied up in an election, we do expect that there will be some sort of a reduction in bandwidth, but it doesn't go to zero. But
what about the community? Because you do need community agreements and things like that. Can you also be working on that in the background, or does that also
absolutely.
Go through?
Right, that goes back to the sort of the apolitical part of what we do. We're here to make the lives of the community better through responsible mining, And that's all work that we can carry on without anything to do with politics. I mean, it's really about you and I in a mutually beneficial win-win transaction. Those are things that can be done and progress forward without reference to what's going on in the political world within Bolivia.
And what are your two big shareholders, Silvercorp and first
Pan American Silver.
Pan American Silver, sorry. What's their view on the strategy to reduce spend in terms of exploration and progressing the projects and really just focus on the permitting? Is that something that they're fully in support of and they want to see you get on with?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely got alignment there. I think they're serious mining companies, and they understand that firstly, you make a discovery, you create value, and you get a permit and you create value. And for us as a company, between Silver Sand and Carangas, 400 million ounces of silver resources, 19 million ounce pro forma production profile, and we've certainly found enough silver to last for multiple decades. So I think check that box. We've established critical mass there. For us, laser focused on obtaining the permits now, and just being a little bit more recognizing that our balance sheet, our treasury, is a source of strength, and using that to the best advantage that we can by focusing our efforts on getting those permits and really crystallizing the value.
Yeah, okay. So I guess looking into this year, how tight is the register? Because obviously what you usually do see is it's a sort of whilst you're in this permitting phase, there's not going to be splashy drill intercepts or really things that sometimes can capture imagination. I think you've already done all of that work, and you've done it really well. But how tight's the register in terms of making sure that there's not going to be a load of sellers getting bored of the story, I guess? Because obviously you've got two very large shareholders. What does the rest of the register look like?
Yeah, I think in talking with our shareholders that are, again, we got some sophisticated institutional shareholders, and they also understand the value of a permit, and they're painfully aware of the damage that can be done by diluting and issuing equity to go and chase a shiny object or to chase a splashy drill result, where you if things take longer but you preserve the capital structure, that's okay, right? We preserve the core value, that nearly $2 billion at $30 an ounce silver, of value that sits within our company. But if we start spending money and having to issue equity and taking our share structure and doubling it or tripling it, which we've seen tragically happen too often throughout our industry, that's where we can really permanently impair value. And so we don't want to go down that path. I think for us, and especially you look at Silvercorp Metals, part of their DNA is being very disciplined with their business model, and we very much try and sort of emulate that strategy of being judicious with our use of funds and making sure that we only spend in the areas that are going to add value to us. So I mean, we're not going to be shy to spend the money that we need to do to get to have success with our permits, but we're going to be very disciplined that nothing kind of falls outside that core focus.
No, to be honest, I actually really like hearing that, because I think it's, like you said, it's really easy for people in this industry to be chasing things and, I guess, making decisions that, like you say, affect the capital structure or not have that disciplined approach of actually just providing value in the long term for shareholders, more chasing a market instead. Whereas I think actually it adds a lot of credibility to you and what you're actually trying to build as a professional company to actually get this thing into production, rather than, like I say, just chasing a market or chasing a headline,
Yeah. Thank you.
No, I mean it. And any final thoughts, I guess, just whilst we're here, what's the reception been like at PDAC? What are you looking, I guess, which obviously the main thing now is the permits, but any other messages for shareholders that they should be aware of?
No, I think just, again, we're going through this permitting phase, and just let's not lose sight of what we're doing this for. Right? It's one thing, I've been on panels before and talking about political risk and should you, shouldn't you go to countries like Bolivia? And look, if you're going to go to Bolivia, you have the projects that make it worth your while. And we've got two of the largest undeveloped, open pitable silver projects in the world. And so very much we've got that, just unbelievable potential here.
Yeah.
And we're sitting at 0.1 times NAV, really at this stage of our company's evolution where, this is where the true value gets built. And to don't ignore what we're doing. This can move really, really fast. And we're gonna unlock the value here, and we've got a fantastic team and supportive shareholders. So yeah, watch out for us to make some noise this year.
Good. All right, Andrew, thank you.
Okay, thank you.